Hello and welcome to Ryno's Orioles Report. The Birds just concluded a 9-game homestand, won 6 out of those 9, which is very good. But you really thought that they could win at least 1 or 2 more, especially the last game against the White Sox, at least going into it. Sadly, didn't happen out that way, but 6-3 is 6-3. Let's get right into the first game. Shutout. Whole pitching staff shut out the White Sox. First game. This was Monday's game. White Sox 0, Baltimore Orioles 9 from Camden Yards. Rutschman 1 for 5. Henderson 2 for 4. Santander 2 for 4, 3 RBIs. Santander really is a late season dude. Sure what it is, but August is his month. September, slightly different, but he's smashing it right now. Hopefully, he can keep this hot spell going. Orioles are going to Arizona. It's pretty hot there, so maybe he'll be able to keep it warm. Mountcastle 1 for 4 with an RBI. O'Hearn 2 for 5, 2 RBIs. Mullins 1 for 4. Arias 0 for. Disappointing. Frazier 1 for 4. McKenna 1 for 3, 2 RBIs. Also walked once. That's Kennedy's kind of one of those guys that's he's not necessarily a starter, and he's primed to be on the taxi squad, if you will. September call-ups are very close. What is today? Today is Thursday, so tomorrow. So for tomorrow's game in Arizona, teams, Orioles will be in Arizona. But all teams will be able to go up to 29 players. And yes, you are limited into what position players you can have. The expansion is just for one position player and one pitcher. So, a little different than it has been for the majority of Major League Baseball, but it's relatively the same. Mullins a double, Santander home run. Henderson 2 stolen bases, McKenna 1 stolen base. McKenna's trying to tell the Orioles leadership that, hey, I'm one of them guys that should be up here still in September. Racing Rodriguez, another fantastic performance from him. 6 innings pitched, only gave up 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk. Struck out 6. Fantastic performance. Yes, they are a lesser team, the White Sox, but having close games against teams like that isn't a good sign for a playoff contender. Webb gets 2/3 of an inning, gives up 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk. Doesn't strike anybody out. It's fine. DL Hall, he got the Felix Bautista spot. Still no update to Felix Bautista's condition as of now. DL Hall, good showing here. 1 1/3 of an inning. No hits, no runs, no walks. Struck out 1. Shintaro Fujinami. As you can see, the Orioles put a 5 spot up in the 8th inning. So for most of the time, most of this game, it was relatively close. Then the 9th inning rolls around and it's a 9-run lead. So Brandon Hyde sees this as a perfect opportunity to get Fujinami in a very low leverage situation. Performed very well in this one. Pitched 1 inning, gave up no hits, no runs, no walks, struck out 1. It is something that Fujinami really needs to do. Stack good performances like this. And the idea of putting it in low leverage situations, one, you take some pressure off of him, the pitcher, and let him go out there and do his work. And 2, what's the word I want to look for? There's no risk at hurting the team if the pitcher is unsuccessful. Hopefully with a 9-run lead. Game 2. This was Tuesday's game. White Sox 3, Orioles 9. White Sox actually scored first in this one. As you can see, it was a relatively close game until the last third of it. Orioles got 3 in the 7th, 5 in the 8th, but gave up 2 in the 9th. Rutschman 2 for 4 with an RBI, also walked once. Henderson 1 for 4, also walked. Both of those guys were driven in, mainly by Santander, 2 for 5, 4 RBIs. Mountcastle 2 for 5, O'Hearn, Ofer did get pinch hit for late. Jordan Westberg, who did score a run and walk once. Hayes 2 for 4, Mullins, Ofer, but he did get credit with an RBI. Arias 2 for 4, much better. The last game he didn't get a hit. This one, nice to see him get some hits in there. Frazier 1 for 2 with an RBI. You can see there was some Westberg pinch hit for O'Hearn, who was starting in right field. So then what do? Well, Frazier started at second base. Well, you flip them, so Frazier's out there in right field, but McKenna here, he can play the outfield much, I would say, better. Frazier can absolutely play the outfield. I would rather have McKenna out there. And McKenna came through. All 2s. Look at all those 2s. 2 hits and 2 at-bats, scored 2 runs and drove 2 in. Santander, McKenna, doubles. McKenna, another 2 stolen bases. Dean Kramer got the start here. He went 6 innings, gave up 6 hits, 1 run, didn't walk anybody, which is great. You love it. Make them earn their on-base privileges. Struck out 5. Danny Coulomb went an inning and 2/3. Very quick innings. That's why he went so long. Pitched 1 2/3. No hits, no runs, no walks, no strikeouts. Cano, now this is the 8th inning. This would be the top of the 8th before the Orioles scored all those runs. So what was the score at this time? It would have been what? 4-1 Orioles. It is a save situation. Cano hasn't worked in a little bit. So 4-out save isn't too uncommon. But as you can see, he got the last out of the 8th, but then Orioles scored a whole bunch of runs. So it's Fujinami time. This one didn't go as well. Now, why is it? Back-to-back nights, possibly. How about... I was watching the game. Fujinami actually warmed up earlier, somewhere around the 7th inning, I think. But then got to more of a save situation, so he sat down and Cano got ready. Then the Orioles scored a bunch of runs, so then Fujinami got warm again and then came in the game. So is that up and down into the game, kind of screwing with maybe his mindset or his arm or his body somehow? Possible to go along with the fact that he pitched in a very similar situation yesterday. Maybe. He did pitch the full inning, so he was able to get the 3 outs. Gave up 4 hits, 2 runs, no walks, no strikeouts. You don't really like the no strikeouts because he really seems like a strikeout pitcher, but you do really like the no walks. Because that is at least you are making the opposing offense put the ball in play. You have, depending on who you are, it's a 50-50 chance. Maybe it's a 1/3 chance that they're going to get a hit. But the other way, Orioles got a pretty good defense, so why not put it in play? Yeah, you gave up the 2 runs, but I still see the no walks here as progression. Can he really be counted on in the back end of the bullpen in a close game? It's tough to say. We really don't know what the reason for this is. I mean, he was a starter, then he went to the bullpen, and now and that was on a team that really isn't in a playoff hunt. Now he's on a team that is in a playoff hunt, and he's in the bullpen, something he's a little unfamiliar with. He's getting warm, ready to go into the game. Then he sits down like he's not going into the game. Then he gets back up to get warm again like he's going into the game. So, not that, I mean, as a bullpen arm, you got to be ready for that. But lack of experience here with Fujinami. So, tough to say. Going to have to see how September plays out. He may or may not. I'm hoping he'll get righted and he will make the playoff roster. He'd be very useful if he can get right. Let's go to Wednesday's game. Yep, I went to this game. I guess that's why they lost. 1 o'clock game, so day game after 2 night games. Not sure what happened here. You see, big 4 spot for the Orioles, their first at bats. And then the very next half inning with the White Sox out there hitting, they get a 4 spot. And then their next turn at bat, they get a 3 spot. Not great, especially when your offense got you 4 runs in their first trip to the plate. Now, Rutschman didn't get a full day off. Brandon Hyde did use him as a pinch hitter very late in the game. I don't agree with that. Partly because at the time the Orioles were down 5. Well, yes, there were 2 runners on, which does kind of make sense that you want to use Rutschman there. But at the same time, Rutschman can't hit a 5-run home run. So the most he could do is hit you a 3-run home run. I don't know. What did Rutschman do? He grounded into a double play. Everything being equal, I would have rather had Mateo in there. Because you know what? Mateo's not getting doubled up. He's that fast. So, but yes, hindsight is 2020. I don't know what hindsight is. Hindsight, I guess, is put Rutschman in. No, not funny. So, Henderson moved up to the leadoff spot. 1 for 3, walked and scored a run. Santander hit number 2. 2 for 4, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored. Well, that first inning was crazy looking. I mean, who was Dylan Cease was pitching, and some of the Orioles base runners were taken off to second base before Cease even releases the ball. He hit Mullins, right? Yeah. He hits Mullins. Who was on base? I guess it was O'Hearn. O'Hearn was on first base, and he just starts taking off to second base. At least I think it was O'Hearn. So Dylan Cease takes, he's standing there. He actually picks his leg out to go to the plate, but then he looks back. He's like, oh shit, he's running? But he still continues forward and throws the ball, and he ends up hitting Mullins. Very weird. One to take off that many times, because I think Frazier ended up doing the same thing in the same inning. To see that happen multiple times in an inning, where the runners just take off and the pitcher hasn't thrown the ball yet, is a little strange. And to also see, in the middle of delivering the pitch to home plate, you turn back and look at the runner? I don't know if I've ever seen that in a Major League Baseball game. Yeah. So it was a very weird looking game. All right, where was I at? Mountcastle actually had an over, which is odd. He did walk once. O'Hearn 1 for 4. Drove one in, scored one himself. Mullins over, but he did get on base with a hit by pitch, scored once. Frazier 2 for 4. Frazier actually got the start in left field in this one. So yes, he can play the outfield. He has been playing baseball long enough that he could probably play anywhere. But as far as being able to read balls in the air and be able to set yourself up for a throw, to keep runners from moving up bases, I prefer actual outfielders out there, but that is just me. 2 for 4 with an RBI. Westberg 1 for 2 with an RBI, also walked once. McCann 0 for. Mateo 2 for 3. Good to see that. And Rutschman 0 for, and his only opportunity pinch hitting for Mateo. Santander, Henderson double, Santander home run. Tony Taters, they like to call him. Yeah. Frazier, stolen base. Mateo was actually picked off. I don't know. It's honestly, I think it was a very close play. I think maybe it's just me, but I still find it very odd that on a lot of these close plays, they're calling Orioles out. Kind of annoying. Brandon Hyde didn't challenge, most likely because it was so close that you're almost certain that the replay officials are going to say, we're going to go with the call on the field, so why challenge it? Or did he challenge it? He may actually have challenged it. I can't remember. Mullins had an error. Yeah. Well, if it's what I'm thinking of, this ball hit up the middle, and then trailed off to right field because, God, it was a left-handed batter, so can trail over towards right field a little bit. I think Mullins was shaded more over towards left, so running straight across the field, he kind of just overruns a ground ball and misses it. He did get an error because the runner was able to take an extra base on it. So yes, it is somewhat of a difficult play, but he got the error because somebody was allowed to move up a base. So there is that aspect of Major League Baseball scoring mechanics. Scoring mechanics, I guess. Well, I don't know if mechanics would be the right word. However, moving on. Kyle Gibson started this game. Yeah. Another Not so good performance from Kyle Gibson, though. Even though he gave up all those runs early, he did kind of settle himself to get another inning and not completely wreck the bullpen. Goes 4 1/3, gives up 9 hits, 7 runs. Didn't walk anybody. Struck 2 out. Austin Voth, an inning and 2/3 in relief. Gives up 3 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk, strikes out 2. So, not a great performance by Gibson in the first 4 innings, and then Voth in the 2 innings after that. So, all the 10 runs were given up pretty early. The more back end single inning ish kind of bullpen dudes were able to shut it down after that. DL Hall goes an inning, would be the 7th inning here. Gives up 1 hit, no runs, does walk 1, also strikes out 1. Perez also gets an inning with the 8th inning, gives up 2 hits, no runs, no walks, strikes out 1. Webb, he gets the 9th inning here, doesn't give up a hit or any runs, but does walk 2. But again, does strike out 2. So, the greatest performance by Oriole pitching as a whole, but I mean, it happens, I guess. It was hot. It was pretty hot out there. Now, I don't know what Gibson was doing with it being so hot, but I know Dylan Cease was rubbing his head, from what I can assume, getting a whole bunch of sweat on his throwing hand and then gripping the baseball. That seemed to help him, or it seemed to go well for him, because after the first inning, he didn't really give up anything. You see, he ends up going 6 innings. He gives up a 4 spot in the first inning. So the next 5 innings, he only gives up 1 run. That's why they left him out there. Well, I don't know, man. You're getting sweat mixed with rosin all over your fingertips. It may or may not help you. No, he was not wiping his hand off after he touched his head, which I thought you were supposed to. All right. Let's get to some of the articles, really focusing on roster expansion, which would happen tomorrow. Article written by Rock Kubatko. This was yesterday, August 30th. Talking about a few options for the 1 position player slot and the 1 pitching slot. Does give some information on Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks could potentially be ready to come back during another West Coast trip, which sounds odd. The Kim Rock Podco mentions the Anaheim series, potentially for Aaron Hicks to come back. Now, if they just place him on a roster, then they don't need to make a move, or that would be their only move. But what are your other options? Well, mentioned Joey Ortiz. Very good defensive infielder, though we kind of have a good bit of them on the roster already, right? Because you got Arias at third, Henderson at shortstop, let's say Frazier at second base, then Westberg also can play. Honestly, he could probably play anywhere, but for the most part, he plays second and third base. Then you also got Jorge Mateo. So is Joey Ortiz gonna help you do much of anything? I don't know. I would prefer the Orioles put another outfielder on the team. Because right now you got Hayes, Mullins, Santander, and McKenna. Now, you really don't want Santander to line up. He's hot. But as far as at least the current 4 outfielders on the team, he's probably the weakest defensively. Now, he's a very nice arm, and he seems to be running well. Did kind of have an awkward slide yesterday. Thought maybe he kind of rolled something. Hayes definitely looked like he banged up his lower half going into the wall, I think, Tuesday night. So I would prefer they put another outfielder on the team. I mean, you got all them infielders already. You got 3 good ones out there. I mean, first base is kind of locked down between O'Hearn and Mountcastle. So having Mateo and Westberg in relief of those 3 position players, seems like you should be set there. You got 3 outfield spots. You only got 4 outfielders on a team. You could potentially get one of them, let's say Santander, in a DH role, keep his bat in the lineup, but to try to keep him a little fresh. I think you could use one more outfielder spot more than another infielder. That is just me. So, going back to Mr. Kubatko's article, he says the competition for the position player spot is between Hicks, Ortiz, maybe Kerstad, or Cowser. Of course, in my opinion, Colt Cowser got a shot. He didn't look that great. I would rather have McKenna than Colton Cowser, because that was another option. You could send McKenna down again and bring up Ortiz and another outfitter like Hicks, because I'm pretty sure Hicks would need to be on the roster. I don't think he can go down. I think he has too much Major League Service time. But this speculation, we'll have to wait till tomorrow to hear what they do. On the pitching side, it's probably a little tougher because you got guys like Brian Baker, Mike Bauman, Joey Crable, and Vespi. But you have a few guys ahead of them, like Tyler Wells. Been getting a lot of practice, coming in late in games down there in AA, or is it AAA, or one of the minor leagues. Also, you got John Means getting bullpen ready too. So, John Means and Tyler Wells are probably leading for that pitcher spot. I kind of would like to see John Means pitch again. I think it's, yeah. I mean, Tyler Wells has had a lot of success in the past when the Orioles have asked him to be in the bullpen. But I think it's John Means' time. But it's just me. And, I mean, as always, there will be send-ups and send-downs, call-ups and send-downs, especially in the bullpen. So we will probably see all of those guys at least once. Again, we'll wait till tomorrow. Let's check the standings out. The Rays are on a 4-game win streak. It's not very bad, but it is not great for the Orioles because the Rays are 1.5 games back now. The good news is Toronto, Boston, and New York are not moving up the standings at all, really. They are all double-digit games out of first place, which is good for us. Check the schedule out. Off day today, Thursday, traveling to the West Coast. We'll play the Diamondbacks Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then head down to Anaheim and play the Angels Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Off day Thursday, and then head to Boston. So, 9-game road trip. Friday's game is scheduled for 9:40 p.m. Saturday's game scheduled for 8:10 p.m. Sunday's game scheduled for 4:10 p.m. and this will be in Arizona. So, yep. Well, I'll have a little bit extra time because they're on the West Coast, but my next show where I will talk about the Arizona Diamondbacks series with the Baltimore Orioles will be on Monday. I did feel like I went the whole show without saying on a day of the week. However, got yelled at that a lot in college. It's going to do it for this issue of Ryno's Orioles Report. Stay tuned for next show. Be sure to like and subscribe. I am the Angry Ryno, and this is Birdland.